Somebody wrote in to ask me how to do a turnaround in Adobe Animate if you don't own a drawing tablet. I do have a turnaround template on my blog. If you put a piece of tracing paper over it, you can create your own character and then outline it with Sharpie. Then you're going to have to scan it into your computer and open it in Photoshop. Select Color Range, Shadows, and then slide it till you see just the figures but not a lot of background noise. Hit OK, edit, copy, and then file new. You're going to create a new file and you're going to hit paste. Then you're going to select again the same color range and you're going to hit edit, fill, and this time you're going to fill it with black. And the reason why we do that is to get a nice black outline. As you can see, I'm going to just use the mouse and go by hand and fix that little bit in the hand that that my student forgot to outline. Once I have that filled, I'm going to go to the layer underneath it and I'm going to do all my coloring there in the background layer. So I'm selecting the colors that I want and I'm going to just start coloring with the mouse. Again, I'm giving you these directions presuming that you do not own a drawing tablet. So I'm coloring actually pretty sloppily, but as you can see, it's in the layer underneath the drawing, so it's not obliterating the drawing. So I'm actually getting the color down pretty quickly. I can always go back and erase later, and it's not going to affect the lines of my drawing because it's in the layer below. So once I've done filling, I'm going to go in with the eraser. I'm going to erase stuff that I don't want. Don't worry about the fact that you're also erasing the white background. That can be put in again later. Eventually, I'm going to flatten the image, and I'm going to use the magic wand tool to select anything that is outside of the figures. There's my color without the layer on top. You can see how it looks on the previous layer without the drawing overlaying it. Anyway, now that I've flattened it, I'm just using the selection tool, the magic wand selection tool, and I'm selecting anything in the background that I don't want there and deleting it. I'm cleaning up the entire image. I can erase, and when my entire drawing is as clean as I want it, I'm going to unlock the black background layer, and I'm going to delete the white background. So all I have is the figures. Once I have these figures in the different positions of a turnaround, I can go right into Adobe Animate and I can start stacking them. I had an earlier version where none of the figures were colored in. I'm just going to use that. But what I'm doing is I'm creating 6 layers. Actually 7 layers because there's 7 different figures in this turnaround. And so I want to put one figure in each layer. Rather than erasing them, what I'm doing is I'm selecting them. So I'm going to select the figure I want to keep, and then I'm going to hit select inverse. And then I'm going to go edit cut, and that cuts all the other figures out. So in the top layer, I keep the first person. In the second layer, I keep the second person, and so forth. So each layer in the end will have one figure in it. I can do this very quickly just by using the rectangular marquee, selecting a figure, and then hitting select inverse, and then cutting everything else out. Just make sure you're doing your rectangular selection in the correct layer, the layer that's visible and not in some hidden layer, and lock the other layers so that you don't accidentally cut in the wrong place. Now I'm stacking my figures. The way that I'm doing it is I'm lining up the feet. So I'm just going to each layer, I'm unlocking that layer, and I'm using the move tool to position all the people on top of each other. I can test this out by using the timeline, and I do see that the person spins around nicely, that it looks good, that everything's the same size. They're all lined up with each other. So I'm going to save it as a Photoshop document, and I'm going to then open it up in Adobe Animate. Just like last time, we're going to create an HTML5 canvas. I'm checking off all the layers that are visible, and I'm importing them as keyframes. However, as you can see, my HTML canvas is too small, so I'm going to change the size. Once I get it the correct size, and keep the same aspect ratio, but just keep enlarging it until it's the correct size. So I think I changed it to 2200 by 1600. Make sure it fits in the timeline so you can see the entire stage, and you're going to start dragging in your characters. You duplicate each character so you have two frames the same. Don't forget to put on the onion skinning so that you can actually see what you're doing, and the previous frame will turn blue, meaning that it's see-through. Using the onion skinning will help you line up the characters so they look correctly. And remember, once you are done lining up all your characters and you play the little video, make sure it looks right, you're going to have to select all the frames, copy them, and paste them several times over. Otherwise, you'll only have about half a second of animation. Now that I see that my turnaround works, I'm going to export it. And I don't know if you remember how to export, but it's File, Export. I'm testing it now. File, Export, a video. And then you want to convert it using the media converter. And once the media converter comes up, you're going to hit that little green triangle. Takes a while for the media converter screen to open up. Once it opens up, you're going to hit that little green triangle in the upper right-hand corner, and that will convert your video into an MP4, which is a format you can use to upload to YouTube, that you can share online, that you can embed in a website, a very convenient movie file. And here is my student Brandon's character turning around, no drawing tablet needed.